Number 25, Pankration. While today we have MMA, the Greeks had something known as Pankration. The goal of this bloody one-on-one anything-goes fistfight was to bring your opponent as close to death without actually killing them. If you did happen to accidentally kill them, then you would be automatically forfeiting the match, as any dead fighter was instantly declared the victor. Number 24, Fisherman's Joust. Imagine two groups of guys each hopping into their boats, rowing out into the Nile, and proceeding to beat the crap out of each other with their oars. Like the Roman Gladiatorial Games, this often took place before the pharaoh, and many times the bloody mess would entice crocodiles and hippos to enter the fray. Number 23, venation. It's hard to say whether this ancient death match was worse for the slaves or the animals recruited to fight them. In fact, the Romans were so intrigued with pitting humans against animals that on the inauguration of the Colosseum, over 9,000 beasts were killed. Very often, however, the humans met a similar fate in these bloody death matches. Number 22, Chariot Races. Although NASCAR certainly has its dangers, chariot racing was little more than a death match with a finish line. In fact, it was almost impossible to win without being seriously injured, and the life expectancy of most racers was incredibly low. Number 21, Nguni stick fighting. One of the few sports on this list that's actually still practiced today. The name of this game just about sums things up. The Zulus would essentially beat the crap out of each other with sticks. Although people seldom died, the participants would often walk away with numerous scars that they wore like badges of honor. Number 20, Gladiatorial Games. If you've ever seen Russell Crowe in The Gladiator, then you know how bloodthirsty the crowd in the Colosseum could be. Oftentimes, the organizers of these games would come up with new and unusual ways for the gladiators to kill themselves, one of which we'll see in a moment. Number 19, Papahalua. It seems as though Hawaii has always been known for surfing. While today it mostly involves waves, in the past ancient Hawaiians used mountains. In fact, the name of this pastime means slide into the pit. For thousands of years, islanders would essentially surf down the side of volcanoes until the sport was stopped 200 years ago due to being so dangerous. Recently, there have been several attempts to revive it. Number 18, naumachia. Once again taking place in the Colosseum, the name of this event roughly translates to naval warfare. The Romans would fill their arena with water, add a bunch of warships, and recreate famous naval battles. It's been said that the spectacle was so violent that by the end of it, the ships that hadn't sunk seemed as though they'd been painted red. Number 17, Piske Rus. Although modern soccer has plenty of shin kicking and ankle twisting, its ancient Greek predecessor was just downright brutal. In fact, sources indicate that even spectators would often emerge with broken bones and injuries. Number 16, Chunky. Played by Native Americans, this game wasn't nearly as violent as the others on this list, although losers were sometimes known to commit suicide. The game itself was relatively simple and involved rolling a large stone across the ground as participants threw spears at it. Number 15, Jousting. Although there wasn't a ridiculously high mortality rate, knocking your opponent off his horse using a 10-foot pole definitely qualifies as hardcore. Number 14, Cockfighting. One of the oldest blood sports in the world, cockfighting typically involved having two specially bred birds fight one another with specially designed barbs on their feet. Number 13, pelota purepecha. What was essentially field hockey for pyromaniacs, this ancient Mesoamerican game used a flaming puck. Recently, it's actually started making a comeback as the Mexican government is pushing to revive these pastimes. Number 12, Shin Kicking. Consisting of two people kicking each other in the shins, this simple sport has been practiced in England for hundreds of years. Although it's not lethal, having someone repeatedly bash you in your shins can definitely be considered hardcore. Number 11, Dogfighting. Like cockfighting, dogfighting dates back thousands of years and has roots in ancient Rome as well as China. These days, however, it's illegal in most developed countries. Number 10, Camel Jumping. Practiced in antiquity by men of the Zaraniq tribe in Yemen, this ancient sport has just recently started making a comeback with participants trying to jump over as many camels as they possibly can. Number 9, Pato. The official sport of Argentina, this sport was played originally with a live duck. Although after many government interventions, participants now use a ball. Played on horseback, it's something of a cross between polo and basketball, the objective being to get the ball to its own side. These days, it's not nearly as violent as it used to be. Number 8, Kabaddi. If you can imagine trying to wrestle 7 people while holding your breath, then you can get a feeling for what Kabaddi is all about. As one of the oldest sports in Southern Asia, Kabaddi is essentially a giant wrestling match between two teams. The twist, however, is that only one member of each team can cross into the other team's territory at a time, and while doing so must refrain from breathing. Number 7. Basque pelota. Closely related to tennis, this very old game has sometimes been referred to as the fastest sport in the world. Ball speeds can reach over 200 miles per hour. Number 6. Bullfighting. One of the few blood sports that are still actively sanctioned by modern Western governments, this man vs. beast showdown can trace its roots all the way back to ancient Rome. Number 5. Muay Thai. Although today it's practiced around the world, this lethal martial art was born on the ancient battlefields of what is today known as Thailand. Commonly referred to as the art of 8 limbs, practitioners use not just their feet and hands, but also elbows and knees as well. Number 4. Muskogee. The national sport of Afghanistan, this game involves a number of mounted players fighting over the carcass of a headless goat, after which each player tries to pitch it across a goal line. Number 3. The Spartan Games. Spartans hated sports. To be honest, they thought sports were for sissies. In fact, Tirteos, the great Spartan war poet, even wrote about how unimpressive athletic achievement was. According to him, a man is not good in warfare unless he dares look upon bloody slaughter. And to a Spartan, if you aren't good in warfare, then you aren't worth the air you breathe. It was for this reason that most of the Spartan competitions were mind-bogglingly brutal. Number 2. Viking skin pulling. Essentially one big game of tug-of-war, the Vikings preferred using animal skin over rope and playing over a huge fire pit. Usually the winners would walk away with the spoils of the town they had just plundered, which often included rape rights to the women. As you may have guessed, the losers became intimately acquainted with the fire pit. And number 1. Llama. Although this sport is still popular in parts of Central America, the original game created by the Mayans is hands down probably the most insane sport on this list, if not all of human history. Something like basketball, the players would bounce the balls off their hips and attempt to get the ball through a hoop attached to the wall. The crazy part? Many times the balls were constructed out of human skulls, and in case you were wondering where they got the human skulls from, all you'd have to do to find out is stick around until the end of the match. Let's just say the losers make a donation.